The world around us can be qualified as a VUCA world, a world that is volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. Isn't that a bit over the top? We are a bank. Banking has been around for hundreds of years and will remain. Our products are sold for decades, so this is what the customers want. Our customers love to deal with real persons instead of using digitalized services. We are a construction company where the digital world is not important. Do you feel it coming already, what the real message is? There are numerous examples that show the opposite of the statements. Non-banks like Amazon and Alibaba are quickly offering massive financial services. Nokia missed the smartphone impact. Retail chains like V&D ceased to exist. Introducing VR in complex constructions, 3D plastering, bricklayering robots. Yes, we are living in a VUCA world where the following characteristics apply. The landscape is getting more and more competitive. Look what's happening in the smartphone industry. New features are only unique for a few months. The sentiments within the society have an impact on organizations. Society embraces more and more products that are made in a sustainable manner or products that do not pollute the planet. A car manufacturer that is not changing their product range accordingly will cease to exist. Regulations are coming at increasing frequency. Regulators are creating more and more regulations in an attempt to control organizations in their behavior. Think about regulations in the financial services industry or the impact of calling for tenders in the governmental world. Organizations need to constantly invest in knowledge development. Professional workers need to constantly invest in their knowledge in order to remain relevant, thus avoiding the risk of set-aside. There are not many COBOL programmers needed anymore in the IT industry. Customers know what they want. But do organizations also know that? How familiar is your organization with the customer journeys that show the desired way of doing business with you from the customer perspective? Change is the only constant. Organizations need to organize itself in such a way that the complete organization is a learning organization where all employees participate in the way the organization could improve. Not only in the product management and IT parts, but also in operations, contact centers, sales, and support units. Organizations should create an atmosphere where innovative behavior is stimulated. Give room for experimenting. The people on shop floor level sometimes raise the most innovative topics. Invest in creating the best customer experience. When products are becoming more and more commodities, a differentiating customer experience will convince people to remain customer or to become a new customer. Organizations should be constantly aware of what technology could bring for you, not only in the obvious industries like telecom, but also in, for instance, healthcare, where robotics can fulfill a role in serving patients. So delivering value is key. Value in what you can offer as an organization, combined with the perceived value from a customer's perspective. And now that we are aware of all this, we are confronted with two important areas of decision-making. First, from the product and services domain, we need to build fast. We need to build the right things. We need to build the things right. Second, from the customer perspective domain, can we do it? Do they love it? Should we do it? Let's look at the products and services domain first. If you combine the three mentioned questions, it boils down to the aspects of time and quality. The time between starting on a new product and offering it to the market needs to be much shorter. Most likely, you are not the only one who comes with this great idea. The time that your product is kind of unique becomes shorter and shorter, meaning that you have to start as soon as possible with bringing parts of the products to the market that already is perceived as valuable by the customers. By learning from this pre-launch, you can learn and steer your next improvements, but not with a product that lacks quality in the eye of the customer. So this means that you have to combine all stakes in your product development, professionals of all parts of the products, but also the voice of the customer. You have to organize the way your products are being developed and maintained in a drastically different way. For most organizations, the usual way of creating new products was done in what we used to call the waterfall method. This means that we upfront spend a lot of money on requirements analysis, followed by a development phase that is immediately building the designed end stage of the product with all features on board. This way of developing often leads to situations where time and effort is put on building features that in the end the customer is not using, not seen as valuable by the customer. It also takes a lot of time before the first market launch of the product can take place. This increases the risk that competitors overhauled you or newer technology became available, impacting the product features. Okay, but how can we do that in a different way, without all those disadvantages? The answer comes in two aspects. Do it empirical and use an iterative and incremental way of working. This means that in your development process you strive for short cycles of product delivery. If you do that, you will have the benefit of direct customer feedback. This will help you in defining the next steps in your developing process. It also prevents you from spending a lot of money on a product that the customer may not appreciate. Repairing that in your traditional way of working is costly. In your new way of working, it is even welcomed, as this means that you are really offering customer value without building too much waste. So ultimately, this more adaptable way of working lowers your risks. In the customer domain, this adaptable or agile way of working also helps in answering the 3 questions mentioned there. An important element in the sub-question "Can we do it?" are multidisciplinary teams. In a lot of the bigger organizations, a siloed approach is very common. Most of the time, this was not deliberately chosen, but grew over time. We have split the many roles in the product delivery process into all kinds of specialisms, which is good in itself. But we also organize those specialisms in different departments that in a lot of cases led to a lack of collaboration and communication. Professionals simply did not know their colleagues with other specialisms other than by emails or requirement documents. That is the main reason that in an agile way of working, multidisciplinary teams are the heart of the organization. They are one team, collaborating with each other the whole day. This means that you have to facilitate those teams in the right way. They will prevent the organization from delivering products that may look great from one point, for instance technology, but are not valued well by customer journey experts. Customers will never use this technological feature. So first-time right delivery is increased. It also means that the speed of delivering a product that is not complete yet, but what is offered already, contains value for the customer and is of good quality, is increased. To conclude on this fully illustrated picture of the VUCA world, the organizational answer to a VUCA situation is implementing a new way of working in the delivery and maintenance of your products and services. A way of working that gives the organization the means to adapt to changes in the context of the organization, in such a way that the organization remains relevant for the customers. A way of working that lowers the risk of working on the wrong products, while at the same time offering the required speed of fulfilling customers' demand. A way of working that is built around multidisciplinary teams who work in an empirical, iterative and incremental way. But how can we scale this in such a way that it is not only applicable for small startup type or small companies, but also scalable for large organizations with potentially tens, hundreds, or even thousands of those multidisciplinary teams? Let's take a look at the next picture. This picture shows a situation that a lot of the larger organizations will recognize. Organizations often do not have one customer type using their products and services. There are many types of customers, all with their own demands towards the organization. Think about the different customer types for a bank. being retail customers, small enterprises, mid-sized corporate organizations, and global working organizations. But, although often mentioned in another way, also regulators act as stakeholders, putting forward their demand. This also applies for large manufacturers that often supply end customers as well as merchants. They also have to comply with all kinds of rules and regulations, like ecological footprint. These type of large organizations also organized itself in such a way that dealing with all those multi-customer demands in the product delivery process leads to long lead times before products are delivered to the customer that meet the various demands. And we just concluded that speed in delivery was a necessity for organizations to survive in the VUCA world. This means that the agile way of working in a scalable manner should also lead to increase of speed, adequate priority setting because of scarce resources, in an environment where professionals love to work. Okay, nice statements, but how to realize that? Let's take a better look at the picture. We already briefly discussed the complexity coming from multi-customer demand. Dealing with that in the total product development chain leads to a distinction between an upstream flow and a downstream flow. Both flows are essential elements in the total chain and should have a positive impact upon each other. The upstream flow is often seen as the part where the vision of the organization is translated into the corporate strategy. It is the answer of senior management towards the VUCA circumstances. It contains often elements like: this is the relevance we want to offer to our customers. These are the type of customers we are targeting. These are the topics that we value most in our organization. These are the norms and values we want to apply to everyone. These are the economical parameters that apply. In the VUCA world, this corporate strategy is of course not set in stone, but constantly reviewed. That's what senior management is paid for. This corporate strategy, combined with the frequently changing customer demand, is visualized in the corporate portfolio. As the means of most organizations are limited, it leads to the need for prioritizing, what gives more business value than the other, or what can afford to not prioritize, and monitoring on delivery. So far so good, very recognizable for most of the bigger organizations. But where is the agility? The agility comes when we include the downstream flow as well. We already came to the conclusion that in organizations where an agile way of working in the delivery process is adopted, multidisciplinary teams are the heart of the organization. Those teams are best equipped to deliver the best way of how the products or part of the products should be delivered. They created a way of working with events, rhythms, and routines where the organization fully benefits from the empirical, iterative, and incremental approach of the teams. Those teams offer a situation where a constant stream of delivery is reached. This can only take place if the organization fully facilitates this by applying the right mindset at all levels towards the statement that the teams are best equipped to deal with all how-related questions. By really empowering the teams to make the best decisions. By avoiding side steering based on power. By stimulating inter-team and intra-team collaboration. By offering a safe environment where mistakes are seen as learning points. By helping the teams in their performance like reduced WIP limit. But as most large organizations will have tens to thousands of those multidisciplinary teams, mechanisms are created to effectively organize this. There are all kinds of agile methodologies that gives good guidance on this type of skill delivery, like SAFe, LESS, Spotify, etc. In the Spotify model, for instance, this is done by grouping teams or squads with a similar or adjacent purpose into a bigger entity called a tribe. In SAFe, this is done by combining teams into agile release trains or arts as part of a full value stream. These bigger entities, the tribes and arts, are the required connection between the upstream and the downstream flow. In the portfolio world, the portfolios are detailed to the themes and epics of the tribes and arts. At certain fixed intervals, for instance every quarter or after 5 team cycles, the portfolio world meets the tribes and arts. At that fixed interval, there is a balance at that moment between the strategic priorities coming from the corporate strategy and the roadmap of the teams in the tribes and arts. This is also the event where learning takes place at corporate level. Why is reality different than planned the previous time, and what can we learn from that? And the main dependencies are determined. The tribes and arts will bring forward their priorities, for instance in the area of lifecycle management and innovation proposals. As the size of the teams are more or less fixed, budgeting is easy, but prioritizing tough. For some complex multi-tribe or art changes, program managers will also participate in creating the balance between their program epics and the features and stories that the different teams will deliver. That moment of balance between the upstream and the downstream flows is visualized by the person in the middle with the hammer and the nail. In the time between those fixed intervals, all kinds of things can happen, of course, in the VUCA world. This implicates that also mechanisms will be created in agile delivery organizations to deal with that. A best practice for that is the use of OBEA, or big rooms. A company has at least 2 levels of OBEA, one at corporate level and one at tribe or art level. At both levels, agile events are scheduled for monitoring progress, solving impediments, interpreting performance, and dealing with improvements or innovations. All this to eventually serve customers in the best possible way. And that brings me to the last part. As you by now will understand, a transformation towards an agile delivery organization as an answer to the VUCA world is a complex operation. A lot of competencies are involved at relevant moments in the transformation process. The best way forward for an organization that intends to embark on such an adventure is to collect the best-of-breed professionals needed at any stage of the transformation. This can be individuals with specific skill sets, but also organizations that offer the best-of-breed services on elements of the transformation. Inspinity is there to make your agile transformation successful and sustainable. We are a group of deep experienced professionals, passionate to make your agile transformation fit for purpose. We use our experience to guide you on the journey towards an agile and sparkling organization, adaptive to change and a great place to work. Our purpose is to assure that your purpose can be fulfilled, even in a VUCA world.